Hi, welcome back. Or if you're just joining, my name is Maya and welcome to my channel, Cranleyplace, where I'm posting content on scarf style, knot tutorials, and more. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to be notified of new videos, which I'm publishing weekly. In this video, I'd like to talk about a pre-loved vintage Hermès scarf that I recently received as a gift. We'll talk a bit about my intake process for secondary market scarves, as well as the design and some historical context for fun. Let's get started. I haven't really been able to find anything about this artist, Catherine Baschet, other than some of the scarves that she has designed for the house, such as the one that we'll talk about today, of course, called Qu'Importe Le Flacon, first issued in 1988, and several more, including Azulejos, Calamadan, Les Beaux Jours de Bonsaï, Bacheur de Maharaja, Trois Feuilles, Splendeur de Maharaja, Le Fleuve Sacre, and as recently as 2015, Collection Impériale. Many of these designs do come up regularly in the pre-loved market at reasonable prices too, so that's always nice. Since this is an eBay find, I wanted to first walk through what I'll call an intake inspection of sorts, and really this applies to any scarf acquired on the secondary market. Now, I did get this as a gift from someone who I know is quite familiar with Hermès and basically did the same thing that I'll walk through here. But let's pretend that I bought this myself on the pre-loved market. First, I inspect the hems, making sure that they're rolled to the front, evenly stitched, etc. Hermès scarf hems are meticulously hand-rolled and sewn. Next, I take a look at the design itself, making sure that we don't see anything unusual and everything looks fine. Then onto the scale it goes, where it should weigh at least 65 grams or 2.3 ounces. And indeed, it does. I'll also add that this came from a seller in Japan. Overall, I have had exceptionally positive experiences with Japanese sellers. That's not to say that problems can't and don't happen, but at least for me, it has been a 100% positive experience, at least on eBay, when it comes to designer purchases. Next, this needs a wash, since I literally don't know where it's been, and I do hand wash my scarves. Basically, I'll first thoroughly clean whatever sink it's going into, sometimes the kitchen, or more often the bathroom. After that, I'll run a bath of tepid water and a mild detergent. In this case, I use baby shampoo. Then for the first rinse, I add about 1/4 cup of vinegar with cool water to remove any soap residue and restore the fabric's luster. After that, I rinse thoroughly again with water, being careful not to wring the fabric. Once it's rinsed, I lay it flat on a towel and roll it up to remove the excess water from the fabric. And after that, it hangs to air dry until it's only lightly damp, and then I hit it with an iron on its lowest heat setting to smooth everything out. And voila, it's ready to wear. Now a bit about the design. This scarf depicts perfume bottles from around the world. The title itself is a reference to a romantic 19th century poem by Alfred de Musset. So its title, Qu'Importe Le Flacon, pour vous connaître l'ivresse, can be interpreted in different ways depending on who you ask. Some people think it's simply about getting drunk, others euphoria, still others sex. But regardless, let's focus on the perfume bottles. I imagine that many of these may be inspired by items in the Émile Hermès collection, but if you look closely, you can also spot at least 4 Hermès perfume bottles in there as well, including Calèche, which is one of my favorite Hermès fragrances. Now, perfume itself is thousands of years old, with evidence of the first perfumes dating to ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Cyprus. In fact, the English word perfume comes from the Latin per fum, meaning through smoke. And I may have mispronounced that, but nonetheless. The earliest recorded perfume discovery dates from thousands of years ago, from the early Egyptians around 3000 to 1000 BC, followed by the ancient Chinese, Hindus, Israelites, Carthaginians, Arabs, Greeks, and Romans. In fact, there is a cuneiform tablet from Mesopotamia dating back more than 3,000 years that identifies a woman named as Taputi as the first recorded perfume maker. But perfumes could also be found reportedly in India at the time. The earliest use of perfume bottles is Egyptian and dates to around 1000 BC. The Egyptians invented glass, and perfume bottles were one of the first common uses for glass. Persian and Arab chemists helped codify the production of perfume, and its use spread throughout the world of classical antiquity. The rise of Christianity, however, saw a decline in the use of perfume for much of the Dark Ages. And it was really the Muslim world that kept the traditions of perfume alive during this time and helped trigger its revival with the onset of international trade. The 16th century later saw the popularity of perfume explode in France, especially among the upper classes and nobles. With help from the quote-unquote perfume court, aka the court of Louis XV, everything got perfumed: furniture, gloves, clothing, and more. Later, it was the 18th century invention of the eau de cologne that helped the perfume industry continue to grow. Historians believe that Egyptians were the first to incorporate perfumes into their cultural rituals. Archaeologists have discovered intricate perfume bottles within the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs, and in fact, when Tutankhamun's 3,300-year-old tomb was opened, there was still a trace of the strong fragrance detected. The Egyptians used scents lavishly, especially in religious rites, and as a result, when they invented glass, it was used largely for the perfume vessels, as mentioned earlier. The fashion for perfume spread to Greece, where containers, most often terracotta or glass, were made in a variety of shapes and forms, such as sandaled feet, birds, animals, and human heads. The Romans, who thought perfumes were aphrodisiacs, used not only molded glass bottles, but also blown glass after its invention at the end of the 1st century BC by Syrian glassmakers. By the 12th century, Philippe Auguste of France had passed a statute forming the first guild of parfumeurs, and by the 13th century, Venetian glassmaking had become well established. In the 16th, 17th, and particularly the 18th centuries, the scent bottle assumed varied and elaborate forms. They were made in gold, silver, copper, glass, porcelain, enamel, or any combination of these materials. 18th century porcelain perfume bottles were often shaped like cats, birds, clowns, and the like, and the varied subject matter of painted enamel bottles included pastoral scenes, chinoiseries, fruits, and flowers. By the 19th century, classical designs, such as those created by the English potteryware maker Josiah Wedgwood, came into fashion, but the crafts connected with perfume bottles had deteriorated. In the 1920s, however, René Lalique, a leading French jeweler, revived interest in the bottles with his production of molded glass examples, characterized by iced surfaces and elaborate relief patterns. Today, the Storp family of Germany reportedly owns one of the world's most extensive perfume bottle collections. It entails more than 3,000 pieces spanning 6,000 years of history. They frequently lend items from their collection for exhibitions around the world, including the Palazzo Mocenigo, and pardon the mispronunciation if I did, that's in Venice, a renowned museum of textiles, costumes, and perfumes. Now for a few fun facts. One of the oldest uses of perfumes comes from the burning of incense and aromatic herbs for religious services, often the aromatic gums, frankincense, and myrrh gathered from trees. It didn't take long, however, for people to discover perfume's romantic potential, and it was used both for seduction and as preparation for lovemaking. With the arrival of eau de cologne, 18th century France began using perfume, as mentioned, for a broad range of purposes. They used it in their bath water, in poultices and enemas, and consumed it in wine or drizzled it on sugar lumps. The first modern perfumes, aka oils blended in an alcohol solution, ever made was called Hungary water, and this was a perfume blend of lemon, orange blossom, thyme, and rosemary. It was made for Queen Elizabeth of Hungary circa 1370, according to some sources, or the late 14th century. Then, in case you're interested, the two oldest perfumes still in production today are Cologne Water, created by Johann Maria Farina and dating to 1709, with the main notes being lemon, orange, tangerine, neroli, and lavender, and then 4711, created by the House of Wilhelm Mulhines in 1792. And this is a unisex scent with a blend of sandalwood oils, citrus fruits, oranges, lemons, and grapefruit. So there you have it. A bit about vetting your pre-loved market Hermès scarf finds, the history of perfume and perfume bottles, and this vintage Hermès scarf design. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and let me know what you think in the comments. In future episodes, I'll share other scarf reviews, not tutorials, and more, so be sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified of new videos. Thanks again for joining me today. Until next time!